Well, hello and welcome to another episode, actually episode number 5 of
Wow.
The Power to Live Your Vision. I'm Jessie Bowen. I'm here with Coach Nathan Ray. We are your life success coaches and, hey, giving out free information. And today we're going to be talking about perfection and its impact on our success. Hey, Coach Nate, how you doing?
Happy, radiant, and free, shining bright like three diamonds, getting after it. Happy to be here with you.
Well, you know me, better and better, trying to make the world a better
Yeah,
place. Well,
that's
we
right.
actually hung
That's right.
out this weekend and had a great time. We were in Atlantic City. We want to say thank you to Sifu Alan Goldberg. We were at the Action Martial Arts Magazine Hall of Honors. We released his seventh book through Elite Publications, and there you were recognized this past weekend.
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
your
Elite Honorable Warrior Award I received.
All right? Congratulations on that.
I just have to happen to have it close by. I, I'm not walking through the mall or anything carrying this. I'm just not doing that. But I brought it with me here today. So,
I thought I saw you this morning at the
and you
mall.
too. No, that wasn't me. If you saw someone on CNN, it was a lookalike. No,
Okay.
and congratulations to you and Elite Publishing for your award. Now, tell us what's the specific time? Wait, the GOAT. You got the GOAT award, didn't you?
Yeah. Well,
Well, I think that's fitting. That's fitting.
That is I consider as an accomplished, by my peers. There were about 10 other martial artists, senior martial artists that were recognized with the GOAT award. So I thought our program would be really appropriate today to talk about, perfection. And that's a good topic because, as I said, we're in week 5 of our podcast, but what really holds us back? Because a lot of times we're so connected to perfection. And I know as martial artists, we're all about, perfection of our technique and do it 1,001 time and, and then turn around and do it over again. And the more you perfect, the more you understand. But a lot of times in life and in business and the things we're trying to do, perfection is something that it really sometimes it holds us back from being able to move forward.
I mean, it makes me think about this podcast. Everything is an idea, first of all. Every single thing in the room you're sitting in right now, in the room I'm sitting in, and the viewers, everything was a thought before it was a thing. And we know that thoughts are things. So even with this podcast, we had, you had that great idea. We chat. You said, hey, we should probably share this. And did we have everything perfectly laid out? No, but we took action. I tell people I like spending time with Hanshi because I know one thing, if you have the conversation, it's not going to be a year or two before something manifests. It's going to be right. So in a matter of a couple of weeks, here we are. We were on the podcast and now look at it. It's already 5 weeks have passed. So time keeps moving. And if we get stuck in the idea, I mean, we could have talked about it another 5 weeks and not produced anything. But we went right into action. So I think this is a great topic. I got excited when I heard we were discussing this and throwing around what we were going to be talking about today, because I think you're absolutely right. Majority of people get caught in that perfectionism. And I think one of the big keys is identifying that about yourself, because a lot of times we live in an illusion or a delusion that we're taking lots of action. But we're thinking about it a lot, but that does not necessarily equate to action. So,
Well, I used to be a perfectionist. I consider myself a proficient person. And, I'm a Virgo, and one of the signs for Virgos, is perfection.
uh,
I'm hooked on something and I'm doing it. And I used to think that way. And the problem was that it's very difficult to perfect something. It may take years. And, we all work from a season. In other words, this is the season to do this, or this is the season in our lives to do something different. And so when you get caught in perfectionism, you actually get stuck. And when you
Right.
get stuck, it's hard to move forward. And that time or opportunity will move by. So I sort of focus myself around being proficient, understanding what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. So you have to look at your life. If you're looking for that very perfect opportunity, that may be a split second that's here and then it's gone. But when you think of your life and you think about, perfecting something and then the proficiency of something, I work now from being proficient. Your car manufacturers, they have recalls on things because if they were trying to get that car perfect, it would probably miss the opening opportunity. And they know that some things are wrong. They're not releasing a car and they got major problems, but it might be something that the gear shifter, I get a recall on my gear shifter, or something that's minor that it's going to be okay, but they can bring it back in. But it didn't stop the
Right.
sales process because they know now. We really work on uh, being the best we can be with this podcast, trying to be the best we can be, finding those topics. We want to be the number one podcast especially in martial arts podcasts. So we're working on trying to be able to do that, but we also understand that we may miss the mark in some place, but we have next week we can pick it up. We start with a
That's
plan
right.
going the way we want it to go, but we have that opportunity, and that's how life is. Not getting totally so hooked in trying to be such a perfectionist that you actually lose time because now you're in delay.
Yeah. Well, I think a part of that is there are a lot of subtle characteristics that sometimes we don't want to own that label because it might show in our own mind that it's a shortcoming. I think one of them is fear. And when you're operating in fear, you're not taking action. And I heard someone say, a wise person say, action cures fear. And so, but we got to acknowledge that the fact that we're scared, that we're afraid. And once we acknowledge it, then we can do something about it. And the something is taking action. It doesn't have to be a big action. It could be it could be minuscule to everybody else. However, that is a ginormous step for us when we just get in motion and get moving. So I like what you're sharing, Hanshi. I think that's a great key. I always take notes as we speak because I mean the knowledge and this information is powerful. However, it's only powerful as much as we take it in, integrate it, and utilize it. So, yeah, but I definitely like what you're sharing there.
And the other thing is that perfection, it also creates a delay and makes the person frustrated. So if I'm working on something and it's just not right, it's just not going the way it needs to go, I need to back away from it a moment, because when frustration sets in, it creates another delay. And then you want to have the hidden cost of waiting for something when it's the right moment. You see, I always say that you can be in front of the wheel or you're going to be behind the wheel. You really want to be with the wheel, because if you get there and you're too early, then people are not ready for it. If you're marketing and that person may not be ready for it, or if you get there and someone else has already then created something, a book or a product, and it's already in the marketplace, then you're playing catch up. But you really want to work on, having that vision and that timing of what it is you are working on or doing. So again, whether this is in your personal life or whether it's in your business, you really have to realize that you have only so much time, and the more you spend of really trying to get it just right, that door of opportunity may end. So you have to envision what it is, what is it going to do, and when is that time right. Now, the more right things you do, the better you feel about it. So being right becomes an instinct. And what you
Yeah.
want to do is, why progress, honors growth more than perfection, because I can be perfecting something and not growing. I can be perfecting. A good example of is bowling. I know, when I turned pro back in 2000 on the PBA tour, I was not the best bowler. The majority of the best bowlers were still in the bowling center trying to find someone that will sponsor them. And so when I went to the tour, I had amazing success and amazing opportunity because I just took the action. I went forward, had found the resources, went forward and make it happen. So a lot of times you are waiting for someone to do something. You have to take responsibility of what your visions are, what your goals are, and then you have to move into it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I mean, I've spoken to golfers. For those that don't know this about me, I really love the to my getaway from the karate school is to go out and play golf and to meet people on the golf course and enjoy that activity. And along the way, I've met some really talented individuals. And I said, man, if I was doing golf the way you're doing golf, I'd like to think I'd be professional or very close to it. And with those individuals, I saw why they had not crossed the threshold. It was a mindset that was a limiting mindset that caused them to be paralyzed. They did the opposite of what you just said. Instead of taking action, go, no matter what it takes, I'm going to find a way. This is happening. And they, to be decisive and make a decision. I know Napoleon Hill, he spent a whole chapter in his book, Think and Grow Rich, on decision. And oftentimes people don't realize decision is the opposite of procrastination. So when you make a decision, that's the opposite. So in you making that decision, then things can unfold for us. We can now we're talking about manifestation. We kind of bring that in. That's a popular buzzword these days, but in reality, it's a real thing. In which, but there's a balance. It's not sitting around hoping and just sitting on your hands. There's a balance between utilizing all these systems and ways of being. And so when in your example, you went forward, you made a decision, and then you start to magnetize opportunities. You become more aware of opportunities that you can take advantage of to get the job done. But I think this is a big key for everyone. I know it was a big key for me. We got to decide. I mean, that's number one. You got to decide. And a real decision means you cut off all other possibilities. And when we get in that mindset and press forward, that's when the magic can happen. So, yeah.
And and in that process, which that's very good, making the decision, even when you're not ready, sometimes making that decision when
Well,
you're not
yeah.
ready, because if you wait for that time that you're going to be
Okay.
ready, then that may not happen. You
No,
may make
no.
that decision and go out
That's
there
right.
and you may fail or don't do as well as you'd like to, but that puts you in the arena of
Right.
doing. I know my first tournament on the PBA tour, after winning over 20 amateur titles and then going to the big dogs. I mean, it was, I just got beat up very badly. I'm going like, wow, I'm like, wow. But then it helped me because I began to find the number one, who was the best person out there at that time was Walter Ray Williams. I studied everything about Walter Ray Williams, what made
Uh,
him the best. So, in your perfection, because it's hard to find something new, find the best person. Speaking,
I like that.
Les Brown is my man when we think about public speaking and all those
Right.
things, and emulate them. So some people have already perfected. You have to emulate what they have perfected and see how does it work in your life. And don't be afraid
Yeah.
of criticism. And that's where a lot of people, they're afraid that someone is going to criticize them when they actually move forward. I don't
Right.
mind
That's
being
right.
criticized. I don't mind being talked about. I don't mind being kicked around because I know eventually I'm going to drive. I'm going to be at the top of the hill. So, and that's what you have to realize when you are now reaching for something, that you may have to go through some things before you actually become where you are. And then that fear, you have to be able to evaluate it and turn the fear into achievement. And I think that's
Yeah.
powerful. Right there is the thing that I fear most is the thing I become the master of. And I know for my life, I would say 90% of the things that I do and that I do well are the things that I failed at.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a real thing. Uh, only in our mental pictures that we make up. It's the story we tell ourselves, because most often the thing we fear isn't as big and as bad as we have built it up in our mind. And so having that, being able to be centered, I love the word you use, transmute. You transmute that fear, you turn it and translate it. It's alchemy, right? That alchemy, turn it into gold. And so transmutation is a powerful force, and it stems from what stories we tell ourselves. The cool thing is, and I tell people all the time, the biggest things that we need that can shift and transform our lives are free. It's free to imagine. It's free to visualize and to get a vision of yourself doing and being all that you want to be and and do and have. And those are when you made your example right there of the bowling, and like you said, you step to someone and you look at other people. Now, in Dan Coyle's book, Little Book of Talent, he went into the mental science of being excellent at something, and he went all over the world to these hot spots studying the top athletes, the top people in whatever fields they were in. And it was just what you just said. He said, stare at what you want to be, is kind of how he put it. And he said that when the children watch the examples, the tournament players who are doing the best, like you just said, they don't just stare like with a blank stare. It is like they are absorbing the essence of what they're looking at. So I think that's a giant key that you just gave all of us, which is find the top people and don't be shy about it. I just I just sent some text to some people that most people probably wouldn't even dream of sending it to them. But hey, if they're doing something, and I can at least say I reached out. If they don't get back with me, fine. Maybe it's not going to happen that way. However, I'm going to, like we said, take action and do our part to be able to be in the company and the space of the top level people so we can figure out what they're doing. And that's the best way. I think one of the greatest ways, what you just shared, association, getting in time with the person.
Yeah, and again, it's studying. Studying the great people. So, I mean, why recreate a wheel? If I want to be, the best bowler in the world, what do I want to do? I want to study the best bowler because it may take me 2 years for me to figure out something that he's already figured out or she's already figured out in your business. Who's the best in your
Right.
business? And learn to take those failures or what people may say about you and let it empower you. I remember in high school, and it still lives with me today, and it still drives me today. I wrote a business plan, and I was in the I think 11th grade, the first thing I was really ever excited about was this business plan. I worked really hard on it. I turned it in. The teacher, her name was Mrs. Smith, and she called me to the front of the classroom. She says, "Jessie, did you write this?" I go, "Yes, ma'am." And I'm standing waiting for her to pat me on the head, like, "Good boy." She tore it up, put it in the trash can, and told me I didn't write it. That was very
Wow.
impactful. I mean, it was something I locked myself into. I was a goofball in high school. I'll confess that. So it was one of the first things that I really felt that, okay, man, I'm really into this business plan. So Mrs. Smith, she lives with me today. So that's what drives me in business, is just remember that. You say, well, that was negative. Why are you dwelling? No, it was impactful. That it tells me that I continue to work hard because I learned early what inspired me
Right.
as an entrepreneur. And I didn't even know that word during that time, but that's what inspired me. So at my toughest moments, Miss Smith, she can show up and rip up my paper, and all it does, that same determination comes back. So again, I can be working on perfection, but I may not be determined. So
Right.
you want
Right.
to think
Yeah.
about that is, the things you're working on, are you determined to move forward with it? And so, that was one of those experiences. And I know in my martial arts tournament play, I remember going to an event with some friends, and I lost. And one of my friends says, "I thought you were good." That just smacked me
Wow.
down. So
Wow.
now when I move forward, so my empowerment is when you now say something that puts me down, that gives me that energy to be able to move forward. So you have to
Yeah.
look at who you're surrounding as you're moving forward. You don't have to
Yeah.
be stuck in that perfection, but you have to understand that there's a higher purpose for you and for you to move forward. Because once I move forward, I can gain more information. But if I sit there and don't, then, my season of opportunity will pass.
Well, I mean, you said something big there with the idea of purpose. What would you say to the viewers about connecting with purpose? Because I know some people are confused. They don't. They might even say they don't know what their purpose is. What are some beginning steps that someone could connect with their purpose
Well,
and discover it?
Well, one of the things is defining what is purpose, and I utilize purpose as, uh, from a spiritual place, that I'm here on planet Earth, that I have an assignment, and because I stay spiritually connected to my faith in God, that God gives me purpose. Someone says, "Oh, he's going to give me the preaching thing here." Well, no, I'm giving you. No, I'm just giving
Truth.
you me.
Give the truth. Yeah.
I'm giving you me that, the books and the different things that I do, it's not about me, it's really not about me. My purpose is that when I help people write a book or they're featured in our legacy books, it's really about giving them an opportunity to sit down and write about their lives, and then they can determine whether or not they're wasting a perfect life. That's my only purpose in this whole thing about publishing, is that opportunity. And the more people that I can help to determine whether or not they're wasting a good life, then the more I grow. So that is my purpose, is just that. And
Right.
everything
Right.
else is an outcome. So again, finding what your purpose is not complicated. But if you don't find out what your purpose is, then you do wind up with being one of those people that go through life and you never really realize what is your calling. So that's where meditation, that's where, finding what it is you love to do. That's
Right.
where, prayer.
Yes, taking a
Uh,
moment to taking a moment to stop and think about it. Really, I mean, I think a lot of people probably even have forgotten, between bills and all these distractions that come up, media and propaganda and all these different things that come up and emotional things that come up. I think a lot of people even have forgotten what they really love to do. I mean, I've asked people at times, and they were hard pressed to come up with an answer. So I think you're right on it with that. Remembering what we love to do if we haven't thought about it in a long time as well. I think that's another big key right there. But I didn't mean to cut you off, but you sparked the thought, so I wanted to drop that in.
and it's also the returns on what you do. So as I'm working on something and I look at the returns of it. So if you're not getting any returns on what you're doing, but you're trying to make it better and better, but it's costing you more and more. And as I said before, that season of opportunity passed in front of your life. And so, you're just out of place. Bad timing. And again, bad timing. My martial arts instructor, who was totally a brilliant man, but way before his time. And with his books, with
Yeah.
his lessons, we're still catching up to where he was back 20 years ago, of all the different things that he was doing, in doing that. So you can be so far in front of your time that you miss it, or you can be behind your time and you miss it. But you want to work on that place of being proficient, that every day you can inch something forward, you can see the progress, and you can get the return on it. So I think that's important.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and two, separating this whole concept of, like, when something big, it's got to be, something just larger than life happen, and bam, here it is, this is the moment, this is the one big thing. But in truth, success tends to be, I guess, some people might even use the word boring, but like you just said, it's a small step forward, 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 consistently, that is not exciting to a lot of people. And I think that's why a lot of people might even miss it, is because their conception of what's going to move them forward is so larger than life. They think it's got to be like a movie or something, an action movie or something. But in reality, the truth is that the real success oftentimes is happening quietly, consistently, and those small steps become exponential growth over a period of time. What do you think about that?
Well, and it comes back to, we just released a book, The Journeyman, and it comes back of being able to write stuff down, get it out of your head so you can analyze it. And the more that you begin to meditate and see any project or anything that you're doing, the more information. That's why journaling is so important, is
Yeah,
that you get a chance to write that information down, and you've got it there, and then you can now look at it and determine what it is that you're doing. And every
that's
one our
great.
program is sponsored by Elite Publications. And that is www.elitepublications.org. Everyone has a story, and you just have to get it out. And so our book of the week that we're doing is my book. Is called Public Speaking for Martial Artists, and there's also an online course you can get to that we have, that you can now work on becoming a speaker. And Nathan, is
That's
also
great.
being prepared. So
Yeah,
and if you're in business, you need to be knowledgeable of what you should say or what you shouldn't say. And that's why I said following Jack Canfield and Les Brown and Bob Proctor and all those great motivational speakers were really great for helping me to be a corporate educator, to be at Duke University. So I got a lot from that. So we've turned that into a book. So they help other
Right.
people to be able to understand, the ABCs and how do I get there? How do I now move from just being in the classroom teaching to becoming a corporate speaker? I've been blessed with the opportunity to speak for Nike, Raytheon, American Express, other Fortune 500 companies. But just like we're saying, is that had a desire to speak, learn more about it, and begin to educate. What will it take to be able to move to that next level, and then developing products that we can now share? And everyone, this is what our podcast is about. We're on Spotify. We're now on Roku TV, and that is Elite Publications Worldwide TV. But, since we've started, we started off just doing a podcast, but now we're on Roku TV. I don't know what's going to be in front of us, but, this is just free information. If no one else catches anything from it, Nathan, I guess you and I,
I'm taking notes. I got my notebook,
right?
I got my notebook. Yeah, no,
I'm sure, and that's what we really want. So, our
yeah.
friends and on our social media, in the social media, share this with someone. If you have questions that you need to have answered about goal success, Nathan is a success coach. I'm a success coach and life coach, and we're not just talking from our personal experience. Right. We're talking about from a place of knowledge of what should be done, what is the system you should be using and how it works. So the power to live your vision is that ability to be able to use all these tools that you naturally have, but you may not know how to be able to do that.
Right, absolutely. Well, I mean, the speaker course that you have, I definitely highly recommend things like that. I know that the statistics say that they said the number one thing that people feared, and they asked the question, and they said number one was speaking. I said, man, well, what's number two? They said death. I said, man, speaking in public beat death.
Well, so, you're one of my grads, like as I said before,
yeah, that's right.
You went through the course, you're one of the graduates. So, and like I say, you do a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Of in your classroom and other different businesses and things that you're involved in. So everyone, so remember, check it out. Check the links there in the post where you can go to our online course. Go through the course. When you finish, you get a certificate as a certified speaker through our martial arts program. So let's go to, our takeaway that we really want people to have. So your core takeaway from what we've talked about today is you don't need to perfect to be powerful. So that's a statement right there. So you may be thinking about you need all these other things to perfect these other things. But again, sometimes you just have to move forward and into that next place. And you may not have it right this moment. But if you make that step forward, you're going to be closer than you were when you were standing still. You don't need all of the answers to take the next step. So in other words, it's like my bowling experience. I hit that point that I had outgrown, and that's what you have to do. You have to know when you outgrow a situation or a place. So then you take that next level. I know for myself, in the bowling area, I had outgrown that level that I was at. And the only other place for me to go was to turn pro. And I turned pro April the 15th, 2002. So I remember that day because I sent my taxes off and I sent off for my PBA card that same day. And nobody believed that I would do something like that. But I stepped up to a whole nother level, and it just opened up so many doors. And those doors were not on a PBA tour. I got a position at Duke. I became the bowling instructor at Duke University, assistant bowling instructor at North Carolina Central University. I wrote
Wow,
a book
that's great.
called Zen Bowling, the psychology of bowling. But if I had never made that step and I stayed at that other level, then I would have never had those opportunities. So sometimes when you make those big steps and you're not sure what's going to happen, just make the step. Just make the step and just trust God, trust the universe that when you move forward, that is the place that you need to be. Any last things for you today, Nate?
No, sir, that was excellent. That I think that's the high note we need to remember and just leave out on that. Other than that, just to thank the viewers who have been supporting us and watching. And I got some feedback from some people that have been watching us and checking out the show. And actually, in New Jersey, a gentleman said he had been watching and that he had gotten edified by watching. And so we're here for you all. And anything that we have that's why we're doing this. Anything we have is available, and just get in touch with us if you have any further questions. No, I think that was great, Hanshi.
Well, and that's what we're trying to do, everyone. And we want to encourage you. Now, if you have a question, then you can message us in Messenger. Join and follow us. We have a page, which is the Power to Live Your Vision. And then we have a group page, which is also called the same thing, the Power to Live Your Vision. Again, we're on Spotify. Guess what it's called? The Power to Live Your Vision. And
right.
if you want to follow us on Roku, then what you want to do is go to the Roku store, download the Roku app for Elite Publications Worldwide TV. There's two apps there, but it's the black app, the one that you want to download. And then you can, add us to your Roku channel. And if you say, well, I don't have Roku, then we have a Roku website, and you can go to www.elitepublicationsworldwidetv.com. So that connects to our Roku channel too. So if you don't have Roku, but you want to follow different things that we're doing, hey, go there and check it out. Everyone, be blessed. Remember, check out the book, Public Speaking for Martial Artists. Also, check out our online course, which is Speak with Confidence. The link and everything is actually in our description. So check it out. Let us know what topics you would like to have discussed so we can help you empower your 2026. Be blessed.